There's a large linguistic and cultural divide between American and Chinese art. What do Americans need to know in order to understand Chinese art?
It's a great question. I think working in an art museum where we have a very broad audience, and we have an opportunity to create exhibitions that really touch on fundamental ideas about China. I'm always thinking about how human beings are essentially the same everywhere with the same needs. We need food, we need a roof, we need love. The two cultures are very different. And I'm interested in such subjects as really what creates a worldview? How, for example, how do Chinese look at the world even today differently than Americans do? So I tend to work on exhibitions on such subjects as religion, cosmology, things like this, that start using works of art as vehicles of understanding, as windows. For example, this is just one example, in the Bronze Age, Chinese intuitively developed the idea that matter and energy are interchangeable. It took Albert Einstein to do that for us in the West. But that idea is so deeply rooted in Chinese culture. In Chinese religion, which is very pragmatic, religion is a contract between the human realm and the divine realm. Chinese traditionally in Taoism, in their indigenous religion, have many, many gods, male and female. But because it's a contractual arrangement, if the human community feeds the god, venerates the god, but needs the god or goddess in a particular situation, and that deity does not come through, you get a new god. That's a radically different and much more pragmatic way of looking at the world. And we tend to do exhibitions that really look at issues like that still are very present, even subliminally in China today.
What can both countries' governments do to help foster genuine, authentic cultural exchange in your field?
Also a great question. We've had, at the LA County Museum, we've had really good luck in borrowing works of art from China. One of the greatest existing programs that the US government has is in the State Department, whereby if you borrow an exhibition where I think over half comes from overseas, the State Department, using US taxpayers' money, will underwrite the cost of the insurance. The insurance is one of the biggest costs of any loan exhibition. When we borrow things from China, if you borrow a Claude Monet painting for 2 months in the US, that's a massive insurance premium. So there are programs like that already exist. I think, given the current state of US-China relations, one of the main things that museums can do is work with governments because they are non-governmental. Culture tends to transcend politics. So we are in active dialogue now with the Ministry of Culture in Beijing about loans for a future exhibition on cosmology. And so I think the initiative often can start outside of government, but it is really critical that governments support nonprofit institutions like museums in doing this. And I think because culture does transcend politics, there's always a narrow window there to do things that maybe governments can't do.